This is a Global Original Podcast. As you can hear from the echoey sound of my voice, I'm recording this from the vegetable aisle of your local supermarket. There's nothing in here. Sometimes you say things about people in the news and years later it doesn't age too well. But I think what you're about to hear did age well. Much of this is about a certain orange nightmare that has been in the news a bit lately. He was planning an invasion of this country in April 2019. So Donald Trump is heading to this country for a visit. The screaming Mimi is on his way.
Oh no.
And the nation waits with bated breath to see if his second meeting with the Queen is as littered with as many slip-ups as the first. Yesterday, the White House was widely mocked on social media for incorrectly referring to the monarch as Her Royal Majesty, which is apparently incorrect. They put that out in a press office statement confirming that Trump, 72, and his wife, Melania, 48, had accepted the invitation. You'll be on a trip with your beloved Melania. Won't that be nice?
I don't care.
In July last year, while on a working visit to the UK, the screaming Mimi sparked criticism for his disrespect in not following royal protocol when he met the Queen. You're not supposed to goose her or tell her how big your what is it? Your inauguration crowd was. It was totally huge, biggest crowd ever, bigger than this tiny crowd you've got here, your queenness. I'm so loved by my people. You could only dream of being so loved, believe me. You're not supposed to say that. And you're not supposed to put your gargantuan fat bulk in front of her and wander down the line of troops like a total eclipse of the Queen. That was properly funny. She just disappeared from view. That stupidly huge coat he wears to cover up his giant gut. You just couldn't see her anymore. She vanished. You're supposed to offer your weirdly tiny hand for her to shake, Donald Trump. And don't do that yanking the arm thing that you think is manly. It's just desperate and needy, and you might actually pull her arm off. And don't ask her where the porn stars hang out. And you're not supposed to speak to her till she speaks to you, which will be impossible for Donny, because he fills the air with a stream of unconnected thoughts and ramblings, just so that no one else can get a word in. I swear he must breathe through his blowhole, because he never seems to stop exhaling. All that demented verbiage pouring out over everyone in earshot like some garden hose. And you're not supposed to eat before she eats, and you're supposed to stop when she stops. And you can't get your food in a bucket, Donny, so don't ask. And when you make a speech, don't make it just about you. And try not to praise any white supremacists. Totally great people. And don't go on about the wall, or we'll stick you in the Tower of London. See how you like that.
I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me.
Believe me, yeah. Believe me.
Believe me. Believe me. Believe me. Believe me. Believe me. Believe me. Believe me. Okay?
No. And Speaker John Bercow was accused of disrespecting the Queen after he snubbed her invitation to attend a state banquet with Donald Trump. Snubbed her.
What?
He wasn't snubbing the Queen or disrespecting her. Buckingham Palace sent out invitations for the usual lavish dinner put on for heads of state when they make an official visit. Oh, I can only dream of having a lavish dinner. But a spokesperson for John Bercow has told the Super Soaraway Stun, Mr. Speaker has been invited to the banquet, but he will not be attending. And this highly controversial snub sparked outrage last night. Critics said, like Tory MP James Duddridge. He said Donald Trump is the President of the United States of America. He was democratically elected by the people of the United States and should be treated with respect. He's trying to take over the House of Commons, is John Bercow. And with similar effect, he's now having a go at Buckingham Palace. It's an outrage to Her Majesty. Puh. Which makes you wonder afresh at the quality of person that we're sending to Parliament. James Duddridge, MP for Rochford and Southend East, has apparently been so effective a politician for the good people of that manor, he can take time out of his day to fume about this nonsense. Really, have all the problems that beset the people of Rochford and Southend been solved?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's all right then. He's an ex-banker, by the way.
No!
And in bad news for our patriotic parliamentarian, Prince Charles and Prince William reportedly snubbed the US president during his last visit to Britain. Huh. And that must cause some dissonant noise in the brain of someone who's trying to score patriotic points. What do you say to that, James Duddridge MP? Are their Majesties Prince Charles and Prince William also an outrage to Her Majesty? Apparently they left the Queen to meet Donald Trump alone in Windsor Castle. Don't leave her alone with Mr. Grabby Hands. The Speaker, John Bercow, is also expected to bar Trump from formally addressing Parliament during his June visit, an event usually accorded to visiting heads of state. 2 years ago, Bercow insisted that it's not an automatic right for a visiting leader to address Parliament, saying it had to be an earned honour. I have totally earned that honour. No one has earned that honour more than me. Everyone says so, believe me. And people were freaking out then. I got that story from that time. Hang on. So this was a couple of weeks ago. Commons Speaker John Bercow has been told that Donald Trump must be allowed to address Parliament this summer or risk damaging the special relationship. What special relationship? Is that the same Donald Trump that's just threatened to slap taxes on our Stilton and cheddar and smoked salmon just because he's trying to get a cheer from the drooling yeehaws at his Make America White Again rallies? It's about EU subsidies to Airbus, apparently, which he says totally unfair, which rather ignores the billions in American government subsidies to the American aircraft manufacturers. But you can't tell him because he thinks he's the greatest deal maker in history. Nobody knows more than deals, more about deals than me. So we're preparing for this state visit in June to coincide with the 75th anniversary of D-Day. Donald Trump heard it was about the war and bravely asked his doctor to write him a note about his sore heel to excuse him from coming. But Bercow's continuing to refuse to extend the traditional courtesy of asking the president to address both houses of Parliament. Good. That screaming Mimi shouldn't be allowed anywhere near the place. He'll bring disrepute on the House. And that's really saying something. God, he's not a fit and proper person to be addressing the House.
Everything that I've done is 100% proper. That's what I do, is I do things proper.
He lied. And Bercow's decision has angered US officials and become an embarrassment to the government. You'd think, but everything that's been happening over the last 3 years or so, that we'd be beyond being embarrassed now. Apparently not. You know what is embarrassing is for us to crawl across the carpet and beg this tangerine scream for a trade deal after Brexit, because that's what this is all about. All those Brexiteers that harp on about taking back control. Oh, we'll be taking back control and then gifting it to the world's least reliable man, which he'll just see as weakness. And, I mean, he can't even be relied on to be presidential. And he's the president. Tobias Ellwood, the Defence Minister, said the UK should leverage Mr Trump's state visit and give him the chance to formally address the Parliament. Well, what's he going to say? You going to tell us about democracy? You'd have to check with Vladimir Putin first. Tell us about honesty and integrity in office. He could tell us about how smart he is. This has been going on for a while now. A couple of years ago, Bercow said that he was strongly opposed to a presidential address, citing opposition to racism and sexism. He described it as an earned honour, not a right. Obama, of course, addressed Parliament. But then that was a different era. That was when the world seemed to make sense. Ronald Reagan addressed Parliament. Angela Merkel addressed Parliament. And the difference between all those people and the orange ape in the White House is that they deserve to be behind the walls of the Palace of Westminster, and Donald Trump deserves to be behind walls.
I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me.
Yeah, and walls work.
If there's a concrete wall in front of you, go through it, go over it, go around it, but get to the other side of that wall.
Quite a lot of that has taken on new significance after recent events, eh? And to all those people over the years who called in and told me to lay off Donito Mussolini, that I was being mean, that he's a good man, sent from God to save us, that he hasn't done anything wrong, well, I don't like saying I told you so, but I told you so, I told you so, I told you so.
Everything is going extremely well.
You bet your life it is. Mark says humans are the worst and nastiest species on planet Earth. We ruin everything. Yeah, I suppose that's right. We're the only species that actually ruins its own environment. Other species are smarter than that. I mean, even plants don't ruin their own environment. Even plants have got more brains than we do. Yeah, I think that's probably right. We're living a life out of balance. Koyaanisqatsi. Bill says, right on, Nick, the hypocrisy is thick in the USA. Democrats and Republicans are both just bought. For example, Obama set records for deporting and bombing, and Trump's just a nincompoop. Well, yeah, I suppose you've got a good point. And Obama did set records for deporting illegal immigrants. He actually did. And, of course, when Obama did it, it was wrong as far as the Republicans are concerned. But if a Republican does the exact same thing, then it is only just and right. And it's what Jesus wants. It's so hypocritical over there. It's staggering. I mean, thank goodness for America, because otherwise this country would be the laughing stock of the world. And it's not just John Bercow, by the way, who is snubbing the Queen and causing right-wingers to go... Because Sir Vince isn't going either to the big sit-down dinner. Lib Dem boss Sir Vince Cable has also turned down the Queen's invitation to attend the state banquet because he doesn't want to be hobnobbing with a man who's on record as a misogynist and a racist. Hobnobbing. Well, that sounds awful.
Disgusting.
Yes. I wouldn't want to hob or knob with him. Misogynist? I don't think so.
I cherish women.
See? And, of course, Uncle Jezza, he won't go either. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has declined to attend a state dinner at Buckingham Palace in honour of Donald Trump. He said he was opposed to the president receiving the red carpet treatment and would not be attending the dinner. Actually, if Donald Trump stood on the red carpet, he'd probably disappear. And you know what? If Jez's seat is empty, I'll go. I'd go just to see the sparks of love flying between Donnie and Melania. I bet they can't take their eyes off each other. Maybe she won't go and Donnie will take a date. Maybe Debbie from Debbie Does Dallas will be available. I bet Boris Johnson doesn't turn down an invitation, though. So it's a good job he never said anything that would make the president upset, because that would be bad.
I think Donald Trump is clearly out of his mind.
If Boris Johnson was on tape saying something that the president of the United States of America, as notoriously thin-skinned as he is, that giant orange galumph, then I think that we would really be in trouble.
I think Donald Trump is clearly out of his mind.
And if anybody did have a tape of Boris Johnson saying something that would upset Donald Trump, for goodness sakes, don't play it on the radio.
I think Donald Trump is clearly out of his mind.
And in other news, the Queen says there's no room at the inn. Which is just properly comical. Donald Trump and Melania will not stay at Buckingham Palace during their state visit this summer because the Queen's got the builders in. Oh, God, the lights have just gone out. I'll wave my arms in the air. Waving and waving, waving and waving. They're normally on by this time. There it is. That's us trying to save the environment. Royal sources repeatedly said that the Queen can't let the US President stop over and stay in the East Wing, as it will be closed during a renovation programme. She's got 700 bedrooms and none of them will be ready. What do you think about that, Donny?
I'll bring us into war.
Yeah. You know, the Queen meets some of the worst people in the world as a day job, and she couldn't bear to spend one night under the same roof as the Orange Apocalypse. I mean, they could decamp to Windsor, of course. I mean, that's the biggest inhabited castle in the world. And she could have put him up there. But no. There's a Ramada Inn round the corner. If you call up now, Donny, you might get a good rate. And he won't get to address the Parliament either. Awful.
And it's a disgrace. It's frankly a real disgrace. It's a disgrace.
And nor should he, by the way. I mean, the various royal members of the gang that runs Saudi Arabia have never addressed Parliament. Have they? Why should he, a racist, misogynist, rabble-rousing, uncontrollable liar and fantasist, address Parliament? Oh, I suppose he would fit right in, yeah. And, as usual, when he is denied something, he says he didn't want it anyway. They've actually released a statement saying that, pretty much. Oh, I didn't want to address Parliament. Comical. It's like a child. You can't have it. Oh, I didn't want it anyway. His people put it out that he didn't want to speak to Parliament and he prefers to address the 5,000 airmen stationed at RAF Lakenheath. You know, unless he gets a sore heel and a doctor's note that says he can't go. Or if it rains, like it did in France, that stopped him going to pay his pretend respects to the dead at the American cemetery there. You know, in case he got his hair wet. I mean, can you imagine what that looks like wet? That candy floss creation. I mean, when it catches the wind, it's bad enough.
I know a lot about wind. I know a lot about wind.
Anyway, Donny, we're looking forward to it, and the American people are looking forward to it too. You'll be out of their country for a while. They might build a wall around their country while you're gone, just to keep the undesirables out.
I'm building a wall, okay? I'm building a wall. I'm building a wall, okay? I'm building a wall.
Mark says, oh no, I read that. Humans are the worst and nastiest species on Earth. Maybe I should read that, every 10 minutes, just to remind us. Critic Chris says, why has the media been taken over by left-wing liberal lunatics? Who are these liberal left-wing lunatics? I want the names of the people. He says, why is it okay for the liberal left to be mocking Trump for his skin colour? Because it's not a colour that humans ordinarily come in. I mean, who's orange, for crying out loud? Where did that colour come from? I mean, it's obviously either painted on or dusted on, or I've got no idea how a person gets to be that colour. Nobody in the history of the human race has ever been orange. I think you're implying that it's racist to talk about his skin colour. And you can tell that it may be a sunbed, or I don't know, there's some weird thing going on, because he's got those panda eyes. So his makeup artist, the team of people that create that look on a daily basis, are just missing his eyes, maybe because he's told them that he doesn't like the orange near his eyeballs. You know best, Donny. You look great. Paul says, what if Donald Trump is the Antichrist and the Queen really is a lizard? Get David Icke on the phone. Now, cancel that request. This says, can you pick Daniel up at 8:30 tomorrow for football? Yes, I can. Yeah, I'll make a note of that. Do you want me to pick up some milk while I'm at it?
No.
Paul in London says, wouldn't it be funny if the Queen gave a week's notice before Trump came? One's off to work in Burger King. What does that mean? One's off to work in Burger King. I don't know what that means. This show is confusing even to me. Lawrence says, do the lights in the studio actually go out? Why? Why? That's an excellent question. This is the only studio I've ever sat in where the lights actually are on a movement sensor. It's because I'm in the cupboard. I'm not allowed in the big boys studio. All of the other, in fact, every single. No, Steve Allen occupies the suite that I'm in through the glass. See, I'm in the area with all the controls because I run this show myself. Ordinarily, somebody runs the program. Every presenter on the air doesn't run their own desk. They don't fire in the ads and, do all the controls, except me. I'm the only one that does that. I'm like the Swiss Army knife of radio persons. I do everything, me. I present, I produce, I write, I'm the technical operator. The only thing I don't do is answer the phones, because it's not physically possible. But if it were, I would. But the lights go out because this is the production side of the studio, and there's normally like 6 people in here, all of whom are moving about frantically. So there's a motion sensor in the end of the room, at the far end of this narrow corridor of a room, too far away to notice me in here. And so every 30 minutes, I think it's on a timer, it'll probably go out around about now, the lights disappear and I'm plunged into gloom because it doesn't think there's anybody in here. We're just trying to save the planet, that's all. Groovy. So every half an hour during the news, really, I have to remember to get up and walk around and wave my arms around and do the disco dancing. Not that it's embarrassing or anything, but it's a good job there's no video cameras in here. So that's why you can't see me on the internet, because this is the production side and there's no video cameras pointing at production people ordinarily, because who wants to see them? I mean, the presenters are ugly enough. No offence, but there's an excellent reason why we're in radio.
And that is a true fact. Another true fact coming up. Who is the best rock drummer ever, ever, ever?
Just one moment, please.
No, I haven't got the time. 0345 6060 973. Lawrence in Barnet wonders if he could hear from Jacob Rees-Mogg. He says you haven't impersonated him in a while. No, I tried. I tried a Welsh man, that Welsh actor, earlier on in the programme, and it ruined me. My throat was getting better after inhaling a faceful of builder's dust about a month or so ago, and God knows what it was. I've absolutely no idea what it was, but it was filthy poison, and I'm just barely recovering. But I attempted a Welsh accent earlier on in the programme, and it ruined me, sent me back a couple of weeks. So no, because impersonating people means you use your throat in a way that's unusual to your normal speaking voice. And Jacob Rees-Mogg is all about it's all about being clenched. He's 100% clenched from the top of his head to his tippy toes, like that. I can't do it. Carlin Dudley says, I heard Donald Trump is a bit like Prince Charles, but posher. Pretend posher, really. I mean, where the hell did he get that accent from? Seriously, nobody speaks like that. Carlin Dudley says, I heard Donald Trump knows quite a bit of... Now you're just dancing me around like a marionette. I'm supposed to perform for you. I'm supposed to amuse you. I amuse you. I make you laugh. Like a clown. Carlin Dudley says, I heard Donald Trump knows a bit about wind. Is that true? No, it's not true.
I know a lot about wind. I know a lot about wind.
Jimmy says, if you drink too much carrot juice, you will go orange. Maybe Donnie loves a pint or two. Of carrot juice? You're kidding. He's never eaten a vegetable in his life. I mean, how do you think he maintains that svelte physique? Vegetables? I don't think so. And Daz says, Zippy from Rainbow is orange, as is Animal from the Muppets. Donnie's a bit of both of them, personality-wise, too. Yeah, the Animal from the Muppets is orange, yeah. And I think he was based on Keith Moon, wasn't he?
Keith Moon was not orange. Keith Moon was very, very white. Best drummer ever. Not necessarily the most skillful, but just as far as being in a rock band and being a drummer is concerned, nobody did it better than Keith Moon. And that is a fact. It's the only fact that I've had on this show so far, so I want you to write that down. But if we really think that Donald Trump is somebody that we should be ingratiating ourselves with, then we have to remember everything he's ever done. And the most recent thing is the potential of slapping tariffs on some of the things that we make and are most dear to our hearts, like cheddar cheese, for instance. Cheddar cheese, ain't nothing more British than that. Or Stilton. Right, I found one. Stilton is more British than cheddar cheese. And smoked salmon. Why did he pick on them if it's such a special relationship in this another one of his stupid trade wars, which are good and easy to win, according to the great deal maker Donald Trump? He's actually an abysmal businessman, and what's comical is that is how he has sold himself as a great businessman. He's a terrible businessman. The great businessman tag comes from that stupid You're Fired show on television. He was the American version of that before it started in this country with Alan Sugar. That's the nature of his reputation for being a great businessman, pretending to be one on a TV game show. It's staggering, really. And if you just look into his business is, then you'll see the truth of it. He is an abysmal businessman. He's just shockingly bad as a deal maker. He just can't do it. But he can pretend to be one on TV, which is what he's doing at the moment. He's pretending to be the President of the United States of America on television. And he's really bad at it.
You are going to love President Trump.
He's planning to slap extra levies on £8.4 billion worth of exports from the European Union. And he's picked on us, specifically. You know, that's the nature of our special relationship. And this is a row over subsidies to the aircraft maker Airbus. He thinks it's totally unfair that the European Union is subsidising Airbus. And for those that think that the screaming Mimi in the White House is our friend, just think who produces cheddar and Stilton and smoked salmon in the EU. That's us, that is.
Oh, fabulous.
He announced these tariffs on Twitter. Of course. It's the most presidential way to announce policy. And this is following a dispute that's been going on for a dog's age between the US and the EU over state support for aerospace companies. But all governments subsidise their own defence contractors. In fact, the entire world seems to be a socialist construct to funnel money from the people to those that make weapons. Trump said the WTO finds that the European Union subsidies to Airbus has adversely impacted the United States, which is, to an extent, true. It's about the only thing he's ever said that is actually true. He says the EU has taken advantage of the US on trade for many years. It will soon stop. That was his tweet. And as well as food, including 40 types of cheese, oddly, there's also non-military aircraft and ceramics and clothes and things like that will face tariffs. Non-military aircraft. Military aircraft get a pass, of course, because Trump doesn't want to stop the flow of money to the weapons manufacturers. I mean, he's going to need all that firepower just to keep him out of jail. And the EU is expected to fight back with its own tariffs. It's already taken aim at Harley-Davidson and Levi's. Harley-Davidson. There should be some penalty to ride a bike that makes that kind of noise. It's an engine that's smaller than are in most cars, which will go by in virtual complete silence. But if you attach one to 2 wheels instead of 4, suddenly it makes a noise like the earth being ripped apart. Why do you have to make so much noise when you're just going down the shops, you Harley-Davidson people? I think that if a motorbike makes more noise than the associated engine in a car, then the bike should be crushed with the rider sitting on it. Hands up, who's with me? I'm staggered that the people on those things can live with themselves making that much noise. But they actually love it. They sit at red lights just thrumming their engine. Vroom, vroom. There's an episode of South Park that dealt with this very issue. You riders of Harley-Davidsons, you're in for a big surprise. Go and watch that episode of South Park, I double dare you. And then let's see how much noise you make. There's a trading firm called Markets. Neil Wilson of that firm said there's a real risk of tit-for-tat trade battle between the EU and the US, which is it's what Donald Trump loves the most. He'll be able to strut around and tell his drooling yeehaw base and the Make America White Again hats how tough and strong he's being. And because they know nothing, they'll whoop and cheer. They whooped and cheered when he told them he loved the poorly educated.
I love the poorly educated.
Yeah, and they went, woo! Just pause and think about that for a minute. He said to a crowd of poorly educated people, I love the poorly educated. And they whooped and cheered, like he'd just given them a prize. So the stuff that's going on is amazing. I've said this before. He's one of those con men who will tell you to your face that he is picking your pocket, and you think, oh, that's part of his act, right? But no, he is actually picking your pocket.
And on that very true note, that's it. If you subscribe to this podcast, you'll find the next episode gets squirted up your life as though by magic on Mondays. And don't forget the podcast that I do with Carol McGiffin called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol, in which Carol McGiffin and I try to solve people's problems while laughing like drains. We really look forward to doing it, and I think you'll find it a lot of fun. If you want us to have a bash at your problem, send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com. That's NICKANDCAROL @global.com. And prepare to be completely satisfied. There's also the podcast of my whole show, which is called Nick Abbot, The Whole Show. If you do an internet search on my name and podcasts, then everything will become clear. And I'll be back on the radio Friday, Saturday and Sunday night at 10. And until then, I'll be seeing you.
Bye-bye.